Hey ladies, how you doing?
Hey, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
Good. It's good to meet you ladies. I've heard some great things about you.
Oh, good.
Awesome, awesome. We're gonna have an intimate setting tonight. It'll just be us on tonight, and we're gonna send everything out to the kids. Man, COVID has got everybody locked down, and some crazy things going on right now. So these school districts and some of the coaches, and one of our coaches game down with COVID. So
Oh,
it's a mess right now with everybody, everything. So we decided to have kind of a ladies conversation with you ladies to kind of discuss a lot of things, with Turner Sports and everything. So I'm gonna let you ladies go ahead. I'm gonna let Sydney and then Kenny take it over. I'll be in the background listening and get this out to the kids ASAP.
sounds good.
Awesome, awesome.
Well, I'm Sydney. I'm an intern here with NHSBA, and I'm glad to have you two here tonight. I'll let Kennedy introduce herself.
Yes, I am Kennedy Jones. I'm another one of the interns. Thank you guys for coming on tonight.
Yeah,
So,
thanks for having us.
yes. So I just want to know, what exactly does you guys' job consist of?
Emily, I feel like you're on mute. I feel like you should start because our jobs are very similar. So when people ask us these questions, we both say the exact same thing with very, few differences. So, Emily.
Yeah, no, thank you. So essentially, Shalese and I work on a team, a broader team of about 25 people, but we work together with our two bosses on a team of about 4 to 6, depending on the project that we're working on. And we have a few roles. So the first role is working on this smaller group called, it's ever changing, but right now the Warner Media Sports Representation Group is, I think, the best thing to call it. So we represent a few smaller leagues, and we help them with all of their sales materials, all their partnership materials. So that includes the National Cross League, One Championship, which is an MMA league, and World Surf League. And so these leagues are just a little bit smaller. So we sort of work with their sales team to make sure that they're selling out all of their partnership opportunities. We also work on the very unique in-house Turner events. One example of that is the match, which, if you guys haven't heard of that, we can walk you through that later tonight. It was a golf match that occurred 3 times between different athletes, including Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning, and Phil Mickelson. And we sort of helped build those events from the ground up. So we worked on all the sales materials, worked on, with everyone coordinating the different athletes, and even down to organizing the actual golf course that they played on. And then I think lastly, we work with our broader team who represents the MLB, NBA, and NCAA for March Madness. And we work on creating custom content that can easily be integrated into any programming that you see. So it kind of looks like a commercial spot that runs in the NBA or in March Madness or in the MLB. We work with the rest of our team who actually represents those sports to make sure that a custom idea can flow across all properties under the Turner Sports umbrella. So I think that's a very broad way of putting what our job consists of. But Shalese, let me know if I missed anything.
No, yeah, that hits on everything, I think.
So it sounds like you guys do quite a few things. I have a question for both of you. Is this something you saw yourself doing whenever you were in high school, or is it something completely different?
Shalese, I'll let you go answer that one.
Yeah, so I would say in a broader sense, I knew I wanted to work in sports. I think, being an athlete growing up, I knew I either wanted to play sports or I wanted to work in sports. And unfortunately, not a professional athlete, although I love what I do. So I think, the partnership side and the sales side and the marketing and all the things that I've been able to do, I don't think I would have been able to, predict that for myself. I just knew that I wanted to work in the realm of sports and see what all the opportunities were under that. So yeah, Emily, I'll let you go.
In high school, I did not know that this is what I would end up doing. I was around a lot of people who are in business, which is now, looking back, the most broad term ever. There are so many different things. And so when I was applying to colleges, I just applied to the business school, but did not know that this is what I wanted to do at all. I think once I got to college and started actually networking, and, you know, looking for internships, that's when everything sort of aligned. But no, when I was in high school, I did not know that this is what I wanted to do.
Okay, so now that you guys are out of high school and you went to college, went to school and everything, I want to know how did both of you guys land in the job position that you had today?
Want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so like I mentioned, internships were a big initiative that I guess everyone in college was doing at the time when I was in college. And so I had an internship at Fox, and it was under the Fox broadcasting team. So just like big Fox, which, had, I guess, American Idol was on, it was like the main Fox channel. And they were just starting a Fox Sports partnership team the summer that I was interning. So the woman that I reported to during that internship ended up running this partnership team for Fox Sports. And so there was a coordinator role, and right out of college, I applied for that role. And, I think just that networking opportunity of having that internship was really helpful. And then from there, it kind of falls into place.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, similar thing. I think internships, once you get to a certain age, you realize how imperative that is, between that and networking. My path was after high school, I went and played soccer at Marquette University. So the 4 years that I was there, honestly, when I left high school, again, like I was saying, I just wanted to play soccer. I kind of was oblivious to what else, I needed to do in my life. And I think through the athletic and academic advisors, I realized that there's so many opportunities that I can explore if I just like put myself out there. So like Emily said, I did some internships here and there. I made a lot of connections that helped me kind of move my career path along, and ended up in Atlanta, which is where I am now, for an internship after college. And after a few years of working at my last job, with the Atlanta Braves, I took a leap and tried something new and went to Turner Sports. So yeah, like she said, just a really long path of internships, volunteering, networking, and now here I am.
That just goes to show that all that stuff is super important. I guess kind of thinking about, you guys talk about internships and other opportunities like that. How have your previous jobs benefited you in the job you have now?
Please let you go first on that one.
I would say a big thing is, I'm on year, I think, 5 of post-college career. And the biggest thing is getting your confidence and just sort of your feet underneath you of what it's like to be in the career world. Building relationships, building network, your confidence. And, I think working under sports, it's a very small world. And so you find people all over the country that you just start to figure out, like, oh, they know someone here and they know someone across the country and that works for this sports team or this network or whatever it might be. And seeing how important those relationships are, it's really helped me once I got here, build that network and those relationships to continue my, career path at Turner Sports. That, and I'd just say I did marketing at my previous jobs and internships. So it's like-minded, and tasks and things of that nature. So I think everything that you do, whether it's the, if I went from marketing to, I'm now technically kind of in sales, sales marketing, I think everything that you do gives some sort of like stepping path to that next thing, and you can continuously like build on it. So kind of broad, but you learn a lot as you go.
Yeah, I would just echo what Shalese said. Exactly. I think that the more exposure you have and the more people that you're able to meet, just the more knowledge you have in what you're doing. And so that definitely helps build confidence. I actually didn't even know that partnerships was a career when I was first starting. And again, like I mentioned, that group that was starting at Fox Sports for my internship, I was able to go into partnerships. And so I think for my last job, the obvious was just like learning what it was in general was very helpful for our job now. Anything from like these little words that people say every day, like instead of saying a PowerPoint, people say a deck. And it's like the lingo you learn. But yeah, I think like getting your footing and starting to meet people, and like Shalese mentioned, it is a small industry. So you start, meeting people and making friends at other companies and on teams and in leagues. And it sort of gives you a footing in the industry, and you just build that confidence. And I think along with that, at first when you start, I think even speaking up in like a meeting or speaking in front of a group of people is really intimidating, because you're just like, why would people listen to me? I have no idea what I'm doing. So I think from previous experience going to a new job, you just, again, it's that confidence that you just feel like you actually know a little bit of what you're doing and you can speak to it.
Yeah, and I'll give a kind of more specific example. So in my past job with the Atlanta Braves, I was on the social media team, and we constantly were posting, native and natural content. And that was of players, that was of the game, it was behind the scenes type of stuff. Salespeople would come to us and say, hey, this company wants to spend X amount of dollars for them to sponsor something on the social channels. And us who create content are like, we're not about to plaster a logo on this content of these players. It's so cool. And then we're going to just put a logo over it. It doesn't seem organic. It doesn't, so we're constantly turning it down. And then once I came to the sales marketing side and on the partnership side, I see that there's a bridge that needs to be put between the two of sales and marketing and social, of like, okay, we make money through partnerships. Everyone wants organic content. How do we create branded content with those advertisers that makes it seem more organic and natural, and that what people, are going to continue watching, as opposed to just saying, no, we're not doing it because it doesn't look good, and then salespeople pushing it down your throat saying, you have to put a logo on it. So that's a specific example, I think, of something that I've learned coming to Turner Sports.
So yes, both of your experiences, they really hit home, especially I'm sure for Sydney too. We are seniors getting ready to go into that field, so that advice was really great. So now that you're actually at Turner Sports, I want to know, what is the highlight of your job?
Tough one. I think I'll go first on this one. I think the highlight of this job, I think we're very lucky to work in sports. I think a lot of people want to work in sports. And so to find a career that, like Shalese mentioned before, we're not professional athletes and we don't have that ability. So like you got to wash that one away off the bat. But to still find some type of career that like you feel like you're good at within sports, I feel like we're very lucky. But I think on top of that, Turner Sports specifically, and after working with a bunch of people across a variety of leagues and networks, Turner Sports has this very encouraging and familial feel. I think people are very, very supportive of each other. Our team specifically, like everyone is, we live in different states. Like Shalese is in Atlanta, I'm in New York, and it's just a very, supportive group across the board. So for me, at least coming here, that was like the number one thing that I took away. I think everyone is just very encouraging of growing your career and very supportive.
Yeah, I would echo everything Emily just said. And I think those are the reasons why I wanted to come to Turner Sports and the reason why I've stayed. And then I guess a big thing for me, and Emily probably will agree, but a little more superficial level, is we get to work on some pretty cool things. She had mentioned the match, which we got to go to when we first started. I think Emily had been on the job for 2 months maybe, and I was there for like 2 weeks, and they flew me to Vegas. I went to the golf tournament with Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson and every athlete and celebrity that you could imagine. We were just kind of on this golf course with, and I, 2 weeks on the job, I was like, I can do this. Like this is really cool. So yeah, seeing that event come, to fruition and get to partake in it. And then the last 2 matches, Emily and I have taken a bigger role in executing that, that's been something that I think is obviously up there and things I've loved about this job.
That's honestly super cool. I'm jealous. What is something, whether you talk about Turner Sports itself or your guys' job, what is something that we may not know that about Turner Sports, or just about something that you do in your job that we wouldn't think about?
Shalese, you want to go
Oh
first?
gosh,
Want me to take
unless
it?
you have something off the top of your head.
I think the biggest piece that people don't realize unless you work in partnerships, you know, not even just Turner Sports specifically, but I think partnerships as a whole, is the amount of planning that goes into like seeing a logo slide on something. I think not even just logos, but like the amount of people and the heavy lift that it takes to just put on a game and like to put on an event like the match, or to even just post something on social media. Like, it runs through so many people, there's so much approval, and a lot of the custom content takes months of planning. So I think that if partnerships and like marketing and sales is something that you do have interest in, you know, just, you don't have to like go study it, but just as you're looking at social media, whether it's in sports or across any type of big media network, or you're watching a game or watching a show, just like taking note when you see these logos and when you see these partnerships that are sort of in front of your eyes that you see but you don't necessarily take account of. There are a lot of people involved in that.
Yeah, I would again just say what Emily said. I think that was something, a learning curve for me, was trying to figure out who did what, because there's just so many people that work not only for Warner Media, but Turner Sports. I mean, we have, like she said, I'm in Atlanta with a really, really large group of people here. She's in New York with an even bigger group. We have sales departments for sports specifically. They're in Detroit, Chicago, LA,
For
San Francisco, and then England, or where is it?
London, yeah.
London. So that's a big thing is, you know, we have calls sometimes really early or really late, depending on where we're calling. We have a weekly with a team in Singapore with the Fighting League. So I would just say also a thing about working in sports, you know, we're lucky in that our boss and our department really focuses on, you know, our time versus work time. We have a really great work-life balance, but at the same time you work in sports, which is 24/7. So it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of traveling, or, you know, weekends or holidays. We've worked Thanksgiving the past 3 years because that's when the match is. So probably just understanding that working in sports is a job that's not a traditional 8 to 5.
So yes, so earlier you guys were y'all kind of honed in on your internships that you did and experience that you got. So I want to know, is there any advice you would give to students wanting to be in a similar career field or job at Turner Sports like you?
Shalese, you want to go first?
Sure. So we've mentioned it, but the only reason why I got the internships that I got was because of the networking that I did. Like I said, I played college soccer, and we weren't technically allowed to have jobs during that time. And I needed the experience for my career post-college, and I also needed, starting to get my network and get in the field of whatever it was that I was looking to do at the time. So I ended up volunteering for everything I could. I worked in the athletic academic center as a secretary and ended up doing things like tutoring. I made flyers for different events that they needed, like anything that they needed. And during my workouts, during my classes, during everything I could, during my naps, between my naps and everything, I would just do anything that they asked. And through that, I showed my, work ethic. I made connections, and someone actually, for my first internship, was on the board for the Milwaukee Bucks in Marquette's in Milwaukee. And so he had was the person who got me into my first internship there with the Milwaukee Bucks, which then led me to my Atlanta Braves one, and then here. So yeah, I would just say, we aren't always given the opportunities to immediately start working on our dream jobs or even what we think we're passionate about, but I made sure to go out of my way and everything that I could do to get in front of people and work and, you know, volunteer as much as I could doing things that I was passionate about, it ended up paying off for me.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think networking is like the number one key thing. And I think that even if it sounds or like feels a little weird and a little embarrassing, like even reaching out to people on LinkedIn, I talk to people on LinkedIn all the time. I have people from colleges and high school reaching out to me all the time on LinkedIn. And I think that I mean, people do answer. And I think as much as you can network, it's just more of an opportunity. Because I think when it comes down to a lot of these internships, there are just so many people who apply. So if you have people who can vouch for you, it goes a long way. So I would just, any way you can get in front of people is the best way to get these internships.
And I'd also say not to pigeonhole yourself, especially people that want to work in sports. I know we keep saying like how much we love working in sports, but the worst thing that you can say in an interview is saying, I just want to work in sports or I love sports, because I mean, there are too many people in this world that would love to work in sports, and we realize how like lucky we are to do so. But you want to give more depth and reasoning and, you know, experience in that. So not pigeonholing yourself into, you know, I have to work in a sports capacity for the exact sport that I want to eventually work in. You know, most of my early volunteering and internships actually while I was in college weren't even in sports. They were random marketing or random, you know, advertising. I did event planning for weddings at one point, internship. Like I just did it for the experience and put on my resume. So don't pigeonhole yourself just because you want something, you know, different or bigger.
I guess speaking about internships, does Turner Sports specifically offer any internships or volunteering opportunities for high school or college students?
For college students, we do. There are summer internships and then there are spring internships. It used to just be through Syracuse University for the spring, but I believe they opened it up. I know they have a few interns on the West Coast for the spring, but yes, there's summer and spring.
I also think there might be some sort of high school program. I know at least in the Atlanta office. If you guys are interested, I can see if I can dig up some more information on that. But I do remember seeing a few high school groups coming through a few times on campus there. I just don't really, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay. Where are you guys located? Are you?
We're in Arkansas. Conway, Arkansas.
Nice.
Yes. So another question for you guys. I just want to know, how does it feel being a female in this industry, in the marketing industry and in the sports industry? I know I am going into that industry as an athletic trainer. So yeah, I wanted to know.
Shalese, do you want to go first, or do you want me?
Yeah, you go ahead.
I think that in marketing as a role, you know, I think there are a lot of females in marketing, but I think that in sports specifically, it's very empowering because I think that it's typically known as a very masculine industry. And I think that it's changing very, very fast, especially in the last year. I think a lot more females and, you know, a lot more diversity is sort of the focus of at least Warner Media and Turner Sports as a company. I think that, yeah, it's a good industry for women because they are trying to shake it up. And I can't speak to Shalese's experience, but at least for my experience at Turner, I've never felt like I was, you know, I wasn't given the same opportunities as men because I was female. So I think it's a very good place for females to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I would, you know, say empowering is a good word. I do think there's a lot of challenges and things to overcome still. I remember one of the first sales meetings / trips that Emily and I took together. The person that we were meeting was a male, and he couldn't get over how young and female we were. Basically, we had, you know, corresponded over email a few times, and then when we showed up to the meeting, he just mentioned it a few times. Yeah, and I would just say, I think a big thing is because it's been such a hard path for women in sports and, you know, on a bigger level, in all, you know, work environments. I think that there sometimes can be a, like I don't want to say butting of heads, but you can't grow too much because that's going to affect me, and we're the only two women in this environment. So I know in the past roles that I've had, not here, don't worry, we work really great together. I just want to clarify. But yeah, it's kind of felt like it's either you or me. And I think we need to empower each other. And if you get to a position where you're working in sports and you're a female, empower those other females that are around you. Reach out to as many females that that are younger than you, or looking for jobs, or looking for network, and just connect with as many as you can to empower and lift them up, I think is really, really important. And yeah, I guess don't ever be afraid to speak your mind, speak up, stand up for yourself. Like Emily said, it's changing and, getting better by the day, but there's still a long, long, long way to go. So I guess we're kind of the next generation to do that and blaze that path. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, finding mentors is a great way to sort of find your footing and find your confidence if you are a female in sports. I know that when I started at Turner, I had a really great female mentor who ended up leaving, but she sort of passed me down to someone else, and it's kind of like I see through their eyes how much has changed in the last 20 years. So you can't take it for granted, but yeah, I think mentors are great. They're very helpful in this industry.
Oh, awesome. So I just have one more question myself. What, I guess, how do you handle stressful times or stressful things that happen in your job? How do you handle those?
That's a good question.
I would say it's different now being in a pandemic where we're working from home, because it's so easy to shut your laptop and walk away. Emily, I think both of us have started like walking more. Like my boyfriend makes fun of me that I'm like the old woman walking on my walks, like reporting, like, we have a light out and I'm so upset about it. And he's like, who have you become? And it's just like, when I get stressed now, I can close my laptop and, go on a walk. But besides that, I mean, there's always a time for you to just kind of walk away and clear your head. And normally things aren't as bad as they feel in that moment. So taking the time to just like let your emotions calm down before you make decisions and before you start doing more work is a big thing that I do. And then honestly, and I'm still trying to figure it out, the best way for me to take notes is like, I have notes in notepads on, I have like 3 physical notepads, and then I have 2 notepads on my computer. So still trying to get that down, but writing things out really helps me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's changed a lot since COVID. I mean, just everything is different, including the way that you handle stress. Like Shalese mentioned, you can just close your laptop and walk away and like go for a walk, and you're at home all of a sudden, and it's just, you're not working. So I think that is good for now, but before that, and eventually when we go back to the office, hopefully, I think you sort of have to calm yourself down and realize that we are not curing cancer. We're in marketing and sports marketing, and that no problem is too big to solve if you just sort of take a step back and take a deep breath. I also take a ton of notes and write everything out and plan everything out. I have like the notepad on my computer and then a physical notepad, and it's just like anything you need to do and making lists and steps of when you can actually get stuff done so you can cross stuff out is very helpful. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just taking a deep breath and like realizing that it is not the end of the world. Even if someone is yelling at you and moody on email, it's going to be okay, because it is just sports marketing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I'd also say being okay asking for help or asking for more time. Our department is really good about that. Our job kind of is like this in terms of when we're busy and when we're not, and busy and not. And then Emily and I differ sometimes of who has a lot on their plate, who doesn't. And we do a really good job of communicating of, hey, here's what I'm working on. And then the other person asking, well, what can I take off your plate, or what can I help you with? And not being afraid to take that help, and not being afraid to ask for help.
Exactly.
Great. Well, we only have a few minutes left, so I guess I'll see if Kennedy or Deontay, who's been hiding out in the back, has any questions for you guys before we get done here.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say something. Usually I have 8,000 questions right now, so I've been kind of biting my tongue. But I think this would be great because, like, just with the chapters we have nationwide, the thing I want to have tonight was just a lot of lady engagement. That's why I kind of took a back seat, closed my mouth, and let everybody talk, because our program is used to be just mostly boys, but now we have a big influx of girls in our program now. And so it's good to be able to hear from you ladies in the industry, talk about what you do, things you've dealt with, and other things that you've done, things you've done to be able to grow to get to where you are now. So it'll be something good to be able to show them and listen to this video about kind of the path they can take in the sports industry. Because you're right, ladies are really getting, it's just something they need to know, because a lot of times we're in the room, a lot of times they're the only person in the room. And so, it's kind of inferiority type thing going on. So to hear from you ladies that's actually in the industry, kind of things you've dealt with and things you're doing right now, and then how you're successful you are, they really need to hear this. And it would be great to be able to show them in the video, kind of to listen with the things you guys do, how you're organized, and the things you do on a daily basis. It's going to help out a lot, and so forth. So I think this conversation is very interesting. I learned a lot myself. I just sit back and just listen. You know what I'm saying? So,
You feel like you learned something.
I was like, wow, okay, yeah. And also about Turner itself, like the company, I didn't know you guys had a presence in London. I know you guys had stuff in Atlanta and New York. And, of course, I know Adam is in New York too. And so, but in LA. And so I didn't know anything about London. So London or Detroit. I didn't think you had anything in Detroit either. So that's another thing. So, yeah, Turner is a very huge company. And then also the different elements at Turner, the different departments and everything. Turner is a very huge company, and it's just a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and on top of that, just the different cities that we have. One more thing that might blow your mind if you weren't aware of this, we also own Bleacher Report. So the Instagram and the Facebook, and that is still part of Turner Sports too. So it's like a San Francisco office for Bleacher. It's huge. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and they even have an office in Vegas now.
They do?
Yeah, Bleacher does, and Little Caesars, I think. So Warner Media has taken over.
Awesome. So well, ladies, thank you so much for tonight. Like I said, we'll definitely put this on our YouTube page and send out to all the kids in the chapters. I think it'd be great for them to hear. So you guys have anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, just thanks for having us and chatting. And if you guys want to connect, Emily and I are both on LinkedIn, and we'd love to talk further if you ever want. So.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you guys for having us. I think everyone, as long as you're putting the work in, which everyone is now, everything is happening. It's going to be great. So wishing you guys the best of luck in the future. And if you guys do want to connect, let us know.
My last question for you ladies before we go is if any of the ladies during our program have questions about stuff in the industry, can they reach out to you?
Of course. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we'll send to the coordinators as well your email so they can contact you.
Great.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Look forward to it.
We'll talk to you ladies.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Bye.
you.